Heyo! Welcome to No Way. Tell me everything. My name is Jess, and welcome to my cozy couch because my husband is upstairs taking calls on a speakerphone, and it's loud as hell up there. So we're gonna be down here. Also, way more comfortable. I do have my dog with me today, but he's being a little shy. He's a little camera shy. He's a little podcast shy. Hey, buddy, you wanna come lay with me? You wanna come say hi? This is my buddy. Hello. This is Hugo. He's my boy. We love him. He's also a barker. So let's hope nobody knocks on the door because he's my guard buddy. Hello. You want to lay down? You lay down? Good boy. Welcome back. Do you think I'm the first person to do the Annyeonghaseyo heyo joke? Maybe I'm the only one to understand that joke. I made a joke earlier this week about a murder of crows that I cackled at like a real witch for a very long time. I was biking down a road. There was about 20 crows. And I said to myself, oh no, a murder. And then I started laughing hysterically. And so I stopped because I wanted to make a little funny video about it. Cue to 2 hours later when no one's laughing at my joke. And I start asking people about it. Come to find out, not a lot of people know that a flock of crows is called a murder of crows. So I guess maybe I'm educating the people. But that was a very Phil-Dunphy Modern Family Annyeonghaseyo joke. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. Welcome to the ramble. We're getting started early on this one. We're going to be talking about learning to trust yourself and your inner compass. And before we get started on talking about that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in my witchy world. Let me just open up for my guides to come in here because I can feel they want to join us today. Okay, so at the moment, I have not one, not two, but 3 sourdough projects going on. And if you know me, you're probably like, typical Jess, misproductive in the kitchen. I'm actually trying to stop that because it's an avoidance technique. But in today's episode, I do in fact have a lot of things going on. I'm going to a lovely crafting brunch tomorrow, and I've offered to bring the bread. So I am making some sourdough bread. And again, in typical Jess fashion, I'm experimenting with the recipe. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. So I guess I'll have to give an update on that. But for my friends at the brunch tomorrow, you're getting what you're getting. It's what you get with me. La 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 la. I was out in the bog yesterday. Maybe I took home a few frogs, you know. I'm insufferable. So the other one is my family asked for some sourdough buns. So I have never done that before. So I'm trying out some sourdough buns. And I have a bit the sweet tooth. So I wanted to make some cookies. So I'm trying some sourdough bougie Rocky Road cookies. So I've taken a sourdough cookie recipe. It's supposed to be just chocolate chips, but I don't like to do anything the way you're supposed to. So I grabbed some white chocolate, some candied almonds, marshmallows, mini marshmallows, and I'm going to make some bougie Rocky Road cookies because that sounded delicious to me. There's nothing witchy about any of that except for the fact that I feel that just being in the kitchen and baking is an act of connecting to my witch, whether or not I'm cooking with the intentions and the herbs and the spices and the, I don't know, sweet things, anything, the flavors, that was the word, flavors. I still feel like I feel very witchy in the kitchen. I connect, I put on some music, I dance, I sing. So I feel like I'm probably infusing my energy into these things anyway, whether I'm actually meaning to or not at this point. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. I have been doing a lot of witchy things lately. I went out yesterday with my friend Caitlin, who is my special little photographer for a lot of stuff. She's so kind to help me out with getting pictures and video to use for my business. And we went out to this really, really beautiful forest in Denmark called Haskell. And I had gone running there on Sunday, and I found some really great spots where I could feel really good energy. So I dropped a pin and we went back yesterday, and I dressed up in like my witchiest attire that made me really feel like I was in my witch energy. And we took some really beautiful photos, and we're going to start doing an event, I think, in the spring. A little cold here in Denmark in the winter, so I think it would be a little hard in winter, but in the spring, we want to actually make an event where we can gather a bunch of witches who want to go out in the woods and take pictures and hype each other up and have a great time. There are people probably who aren't nature witches. I'm definitely a nature witch. And I feel like in general, the research, the experience, everything supports being in nature as a form of connecting it at the very least to yourself. Like forest bathing is a thing because, you know, it feels amazing to be out in the forest. There's just oh, it's clean. The energy, the beauty, the magic, everything that you feel in the forest is just so restorative. But there's really something about when you're out there and when you're in this headspace of being in your witch, really connecting, that just feels like I felt like a 9-volt battery. That's probably not the strongest battery. I probably don't have a lot of dudes listening to this or battery technicians. Um, What's a really strong battery? I'm gonna get stuck on this. This is something I don't need to get stuck on. A really strong battery. I felt like a really strong battery when I came back. And I just was like buzzing. I was so full up. I've been doing a lot of events lately. I did an event on Sunday with my friend Sissel. Hi, Sissel. Where we did Kundalini activation, somatic yoga, and subconscious reprogramming. And it was so cozy and nice and lovely at the summer house. And I'm currently planning a winter solstice event on the 13th of December with my friend Stephanie. And I'm also planning an event to start doing some witchcrafting, actually, where I teach people about witchcraft, being and connecting to your witch and healing through witchcraft. And doing crafts, actually doing the crafts. So I think my friend Amanda came up with a lovely name, which I think is great, Spellcrafting Saturday, where I'm coming up with a bunch of things to teach people that will help them understand themselves, heal, channel that creative energy, do all that good stuff. So that's what I've been up to as a everyday witch. I started the Embodied Witchcraft Instagram account where I post astrological updates, but I try to keep the astrological updates not the mainstream stuff because there are so many other people who are doing a lot of information around this. They're really good at it. It's really lovely. I love and share their stuff. So I don't feel like that's where I'm going to add the value, but I like the kind of weirder, unknown, subgenre astrology. I don't know the name for it. So I share things that are kind of off grid about the events we're going through. So like we're going through a Mercury retrograde at this point in time, probably by the not time this episode comes out. And so instead of talking about Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and Sagittarius, because everyone was already having plenty of information about that, I dug into Mercury retrograde and what that means for people who were born during a Mercury retrograde. And I put a video out about that, and I'm going to do one about the new moon in Uranus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That came out so smoothly as soon as it came out. Is that ever not going to be funny as an adult? Am I ever going to not laugh at fart and butt jokes and sex jokes? Sorry. I'm going to talk about what it means that the year that this new moon that's coming up. Again, this will be after this or before this episode comes out. But anyway, just to say, you should go follow Embodied Witchcraft if that interests you. There's also rituals, there's humor. Like I try to keep it funny about how we can heal and reconnect to our witch through witchcrafting and somatic practices. And I'm doing a series on the science behind witchcraft because I think a lot of people think it's just fun and woo-woo, and it is fun and it is woo-woo, but there's also scientific backing about why witchcraft rituals, ceremony, healing, manifestation, those kind of things, why they all work. And I think it's a really interesting thing to understand because I was listening to a podcast in my effort to dig up all the actual scientific research on it. Coffee break. I dug up an episode from a podcast from two guys called the Sci Guys. It's a great podcast, so I recommend it if you're looking for a new podcast. They look at a bunch of kind of like everything. There are more esoteric topics. There's also like folklore, but then there's also like really random stuff. I want them to do one on astrology. I think that would be really great, but maybe they can't. Maybe there's not a lot of scientific background on astrology. It's one of those things that you feel and you believe or you don't, I guess. Anywho, it was a great episode. And I think one of the things one of the guys said, I actually wholeheartedly disagree with in a very lovely, this is why we have difference of opinions on things and why it's so important to understand that your experience matters. There has to be a balance between experience and evidence. Um, Now I feel like I'm already getting into this trusting yourself topic. So let's just transition. We're talking about trusting yourself, right? So I'm listening to the podcast. He's talking about all this really great information and science around why these rituals and things actually work, and experience over evidence is really important. And I agree with him on this, and that he said that there has to be a balance because there are people in the scientific community who only believe the evidence over the experience. And when that's the case, you're kind of shutting yourself into a very restrictive lens because science is a way of explaining what we experience around us. And we all have different ways of explaining it. That's what astrology is, that's what witchcraft is, Christianity, um, all these different ways. Like if you boil down to the core of what we use them for, what they help us with as people, it's understanding the world around us and how we explain it. And I think some people identify more with the scientific approach, obviously, and some people identify more with the more mystical or faith-based approach to understanding. And this has been going on since the dawn of time. I mean, way, way, way long ago. You can see all these statues about, the Great Mother and things like that, and explanation of the creation of the stars and all the mythologies. Like, I mean, we can go on forever about this, but these are all just ways of understanding the world around us, right? But when you're so focused on it has to be evidence based, you really put a restrictive lens around yourself, especially because science is now catching up to a lot of these things that have been known um, by different indigenous groups, especially. Um, and witches and pagans for a very long time. But there's a lot of restrictive things around actual science in order for it to get published, in order for it to be a valid study. It's very expensive, it's very time consuming. You have to have people who have interest in it. And there is an interesting group of people who are like scientists and witches, where they kind of bridge this gap. And we need people like that because if you don't believe that this is scientific, you're not going to study it. And as science catches up, and is able to measure more things we weren't able to measure or test before, that opens up doors to testing a lot of these spiritual ideas and actually seeing that they are valid, they are backed up by science. But if you don't have people who believe that that's possible because it's not backed by science already, then you're not going to study those things. It closes it off. Also, just as a personal experience, I feel like you really shut yourself off to a lot of really great experiences that you could enjoy as a person because you don't find value in it unless it's based in fact and science. And that's, of course, your choice to live that way. And I will always respect that, and everybody should respect that. But I think you have the other end of the spectrum where everything is experience based. And that's also not beneficial because then you're only basing on your limited experience. And you could have gone through so many different experiences in your life and you still won't be able to account for the full experience of what's actually going on. You can also, your experience can be quote unquote wrong, right? There are fallible things within ourselves as humans. So you could explain something as a certain way and there's a better reason for it. Now, I will caveat that by saying my rule, as I've explained before, is basically the Wiccan read, even though I'm not Wiccan, but I believe it's a very valid rule or guide of I'll make it modern. But if what you're doing doesn't harm anybody, then do whatever you want. So I always say, if it's helpful for you and it doesn't harm anybody, have at it. So if your experience is not backed by science, and sometimes there's even a scientific reason why you're wrong, but it helps you more to believe your experience, again, as long as it's not harming anybody, have at it. But you have to keep an open mind that there is this in between, right? There's an in between of it can be both. It can be both. And what I disagree with him on is that he said he tends to agree with the scientific approach because he finds it more reliable. And I value that that's his opinion as a scientist, but I disagree with that. I think if you look at what pagans, witches, indigenous cultures have been doing since the dawn of time, not much has changed around the rituals, the ceremonies, the beliefs. Like herbs is a great example because witches and indigenous cultures, and I'm just going to say spiritual people, so I don't have to keep saying those those three over and over. Spiritual people have been using herbs as medicine, as ceremonial, as spell work for eons, forever and ever. And now science is able to explain that, like, yes, lavender works in incense for calming and relaxing because there is a chemical compound in lavender when released that causes your brain to release chemicals that make you relaxed and calm. So there's a scientific backing of these herbs, right? But these people have been doing this for ever and ever and ever. And if you actually look at the history of science, there's lots of studies that have been proven incorrect, had to be redone. So I wouldn't say that that's as reliable as a lot of these traditions. I think reliable is a subjective term in this case, because statistically reliable, I would say the traditions are more reliable. They haven't changed, they've continued. And now science is able to prove that they're actually, a lot of them, having scientific backing, whereas science has been proven wrong many, many times as we are able to change and update and realize that something is true or something is different than we thought it was using these new scientific methods. So for me, as a term of reliable, I would say it's the thing that hasn't changed. That's more reliable. But it's a subjective term because for him, he feels that reliable means that there's scientific evidence of it. And that's, again, just different viewpoints. So let's talk about trusting yourself. Um, I really love the sovereignty that comes with building your own spiritual beliefs and understanding that you hold the power inside yourself. Because I will caveat this whole discussion by saying, and I say discussion like there's someone else here, it's just me against myself, but I am a very good teacher. I'm a very bad student. I'm really good at disseminating the information. Um, I'm not great at following it. I've talked about this a lot, but my guides, like, they have their job cut out for them because I'm stubborn as fuck. Um, and trusting myself has been quite possibly one of the hardest lessons that I've embarked upon over the past few years. Because I grew up in, I mean, whether you're in a religious background or not, I grew up in a society that tells you that you can't trust yourself. You have to look to experts outside of yourself, or you have to look to God, or you need help, or you need opinion. You have to have mentors. Like, I'm not saying that mentors and God and all this other stuff isn't helpful, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is that trust and belief in yourself. And doing the healing work and removing the conditioning layers so that you can actually discover and reconnect to, in this case, I'm going to say your inner witch or your higher self. That's the work that needs to be done, because you cannot trust yourself when you don't know who you are. In Christianity, you are born a sinner. You're born, for lack of a better term, because I feel like this is kind of how they view it, you're born broken and only God can fix you. There's really not a whole lot of connecting to yourself. It's always connecting to God or connecting to an external. Whereas in a lot of other religions and witchcraft, you are born perfect. You're born exactly how you're supposed to be. But it's through society and conditioning that layers are put upon that version of yourself. And so the goal is to reconnect back to yourself, remove those layers, and remember how perfect you are just as you are. And that comes with self-love, which comes with trust and belief in yourself. Because when you do not like yourself, or you feel like you're not a good person, or you're not good enough, um, do you trust that person? Like, do you trust someone you don't like? Do you trust someone that you feel like is an idiot or doesn't know best for themselves? No. So it works the same way internally. So the sovereignty that you can find in yourself is such a key thing to be able to navigate your life. Let me give you an example, because like I said, I'm a great teacher. I'm not a great student. I hope if you're ever listening to this and you're like, Jess has it all together. Jess does not. Jess does not have it all together. Jess knows a lot and Jess has evolved a lot, but Jess is still just as much a student as anyone else. I am a student of Earth School. I might be on a different part of my journey than a lot of you, but I'm still constantly working on things. And this trust in myself is one of them. And I would say I'm at the point right now, like, I can look back at a few years ago and see how far I've come from a woman who never made any big decisions for herself. I let men mostly make all my decisions. And let me just clarify, because what I mean is, like, my boss would be like, I think this is a good move for you. And even though I was like, I don't know, I would be like, well, he knows best. He's my boss. Or I look up to this person, so they know better. Or, like, I would go to my husband and be like, what do you think I should do? I was totally disconnected from my inner self, from my higher self, from my witch, from anything. I had no steering column. I think that's a good analogy. I don't know. Like, why do I keep talking about batteries in cars? Like, can't I talk about, I don't know, smut books or something? There was no plot. I didn't have a plot. I was just going all over the place. I was going wherever my story took me, as dictated by, like, I was a make your own adventure book. but I was not the reader. I was letting other people choose my adventure, and I was just going wherever they thought was best for me. And I think part of that was also from my ADHD, part of it was from trauma. So you have to have this like very strong idea, the steering column to help you. And a lot of us just don't have it because we've been taught the whole time that we don't know what's best for us. But the thing is, you do. You do. In our souls, we know absolutely what's best for us. And when you have the connection to your higher self, you also will get the information and you'll have that clarity and that connection to your intuition and know exactly what is right for you and what you should do in the moment. But it doesn't mean that there's not doubt. And I'll give you a very, hopefully, somewhat understandable, relatable story. So I did this photo shoot yesterday. And I really wanted like a Witch of the Woods look. And I didn't have a Witch of the Woods dress. And I love the brand For Love and Lemons. I did my vow renewal in one of their beautiful white flower transparent dresses. And I wanted a black version of that dress. So I went on Vinted and I looked and I found a woman in Poland who was selling a short version of that dress at a very reasonable price, thanks secondhand. And so I bought it like the week before or something. And they have 7 days to mail the package. So I'm sitting there like, I hope she mails it sooner because otherwise I'm not going to get it in time. So I ordered this dress. I'm eagle eyeing the email every day to see have they sent the dress yet, and they haven't. And I start like not panicking, but I start to be like, I don't know if it's going to come in time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to whip out my sewing skills. I'm going to go to the fabric store and I'm going to get some fabric and I'm going to make another dress just in case. I'm going to go figure this out. And then I got a very clear message from my higher self that was like, just be patient, just wait. In that moment, I was like, okay, the dress is going to come. I've just been assured the dress is going to come. It's going to come. I don't need to do this. Like 20 minutes later, I was like, but what if it doesn't come and I'm not prepared? I should go get the dress stuff. So I go to the first store. They don't have the kind of material I want. I go home. There's no other stores open that day. I go home and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, okay, I got to go get this dress stuff tomorrow. And again, very clear message comes through for myself of you just need to trust that the dress is going to be here on time. It's going to be there on time. Just relax. You're fine. And so I actually did relax that evening. I was like, you know what? I got the message. I trust it. The dress is coming. I'm positive. I'm happy about it. And even if it doesn't come, it'll be fine. It's whatever meant to happen will happen. It is what it is. I got to go pull my sourdough, which that also sounds like a euphemism for something. I will be right back. I'm back. I also realized that this was a real dumb move of me because Mercury is fully in the microwave. So of course, this is why my thoughts are completely bejumbled. All right. So I spend the night on the couch watching TV, relaxing with my cats, reading a book, just chilling. But the morning I was calm. I was like, they told me to wait. I need to trust myself. I need to trust the universe. I'm not going to go. Fucking 15 minutes later, I'm biking into the city. So I get to the fabric store. I look around. They have a lot of lovely fabrics finally. So I have her cut out the fabric that I need. I'm standing in line at the cash register. After they cut the fabric, you're done for. You can't turn it back. You have it now. This is yours. Not like it was extremely expensive, but still. So I'm at the cash register. I'm literally about to pay and my phone notification comes in that my dress had arrived. And I just started laughing. And then my guides came through and they were like, did we tell you to wait or not? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I feel like my patience is a big one. My guides work with me all the time on, but part of that is also this trust. And I knew, a part of me knew that my dress would be here. I had complete faith that the universe would make sure my dress got here because I knew that was the dress. Like that was what I was supposed to wear. And I felt it, I knew it, and I still let my rational brain override that and go, it's not logical that your dress is going to get here in time because she just sent it. And it usually takes at least 4 or 5 days. There's no way it's coming next day. Like that's not a thing. And so if I had truly trusted myself and, an extension, the universe, I wouldn't have gone to the fabric store and got any of that because I wouldn't have needed to because I knew that it was coming. And it's just to show you that like it is still a struggle, even when you have a good connection to yourself, because it's a practice and it's something that you have to do. But it was a lesson for me in that I learned again, like, oh man, I should have listened to myself. I knew it. I knew that it was going to come and I still didn't listen. Now, I made tomato sauce out of tomatoes and I made a skirt or a cape, however, which was beautiful. It was just like a tulle skirt that I wore in some pictures to make it look like the dress was longer. There was a skirt around it. And one of my favorite pictures came out of that. So it wasn't a bad situation. I feel like it was a learning opportunity. Like I say, we always try to make opportunities out of these lessons. So I did that and it was great. It was fine. But if I had truly trusted myself, I would never have done that, you know? And so building this trust in yourself takes time. It's a practice and it comes with this understanding that you always have had the knowing inside of you of what's best for you. You've just been gaslighted into not believing that. And you have to get back to it because your happiest life, your most fulfilled life, the path that you want to be on, your soul wants to be on, you you have to find that in yourself first. You know what? Let's take a turn. Let's take a turn. I'm going to get my cards. My guides wanted to come in earlier. So let's do a reading. Let's just see what they want to say. Oh, hi. Hi, puppies. You want to come here? I'm doing a reading. She's like, I heard reading. This is my little familiar cat. She loves to do magic with me. Maybe she's going to end up sitting here and I'm not going to be able to do the reading. Let's just do a straight up collective reading. Um, we're all going through it. I feel like Mercury in the microwave, 5 planets retrograding. Like it's intense, man. But I will say, I have really been putting in the work this year, as a lot of other people have as well. And I feel like while all of these things are affecting me very clearly, obviously, Mercury is affecting me in this very moment. Um, but while all of these things are affecting me, they are definitely not feeling as horrible. I'm absolutely flowing with it. I'm learning the lessons as they come in. I'm understanding the influences, and I hope you are too. So right now with all of this stuff going on, there's a lot of these old lessons from the year. It's actually kind of beautiful and poetic when you think about it because it's the end of the year and the astrology is like, hey, let's look back at your year and everything you overcame, and you get the decision now of, are you going to take this with you into the new year? Have you grown from it? And also, I feel like it's really beautiful in if you're able to have compassion, love, and look back at your year and see how far you've come, it's really beautiful. Because I have these things coming up where my initial reaction is like, why is this coming up again? But I remind myself, or I remember, I guess, what's going on. And I'm like, oh. And then I just say, like, no, I definitely am fine. I don't want to do that anymore. That's not part of who I am anymore. And I'm going to let that go. And when you work with energies like that, you release it and it goes away, but you have a choice of, are you going to mull on this again? Are you going to go back to this way of being? Like, let me give you a concrete example. I started a business this year, and businesses take a long time to grow. And I feel like, especially when you are just a full-time witch, that business, it's a long one. Like it's not gonna, and I also have been told by my guides that it's gonna be a long road, and I'm okay with that. I am at peace with that, and I love that because I think this is right for me. But that's the work that I've been doing this year. And so with this period right now where things are coming up, some old insecurities came up around income, around money, and about being able to support myself and being independent. And then some doubts crept in with that of like, what if I never make money with this business? And, then I have this new knowledge of myself of like, but I know that this is going to work for me at some point. Maybe not in this exact iteration, but I'm figuring it out and I'm giving myself the grace and the time to do that. And so we have to stop going to this worst case scenario and this negative way of thinking of, it hasn't worked out. I'm not super successful already, so it's probably not going to work and I'm going to quit everything. And then on top of that, then it was like, maybe I should just go back to corporate. So I was really successful there. I made a lot of money there, maybe I should just do that again. And when that thought came up was when I realized that this was an old pattern, because I know without a shadow and a doubt, again, going back to this trust in myself, I don't want to go back to corporate. I never fit in there. I didn't like it. I had to be a different version of myself, which made me miserable and made me do some really bad habits that I don't want to do again. And I'm very happy with where I am now. Of course, is money good to have? Yes, I need to eventually make money. But in this time and space, I have the ability to not worry about that. And I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to trust that my own ability and the universe will bring this to me. But when this pattern came up again, if I was not aware that this is exactly what's going on, and this is not the only one, mind you, this has been many different patterns with relationships, with my family, with my own self and my own ways of thinking about myself. where I start to go down roads that I know I don't want to go down anymore in my thoughts, having the knowledge that that's what's going on with this end of year retrograde energy, and what the astrology is asking of us to clear, because again, also with numerology, it's a 9-year, so it's an ending of a cycle. And so we're moving into a new cycle next year. I'm able to look at it from a more objective, or I'm able to stop myself and be like, whoa, we know we don't want to go back to corporate. So let's not go down that road again. We're not going to go on LinkedIn and start looking at all these jobs that make us feel sick, even looking at them. Like, we're not doing that anymore. It's fine. Let's do a meditation. Let's relax. Let's breathe into this and figure out what's going on. And a lot of times what's going on is it's just these old things that I've already, worked on and worked through, but they're just kind of, it's like the end level of a video game where you have like the ultimate boss that you have to like beat. And sometimes I think it's the Mario one, but there's like, I don't really play video games. There might be a lot of that are like this, but like there's like six final bosses that you've beat from all these different levels that you now have to redo. It's that energy. Like, that's all it's asking. So if you're feeling like a lot of this kind of stuff is coming up for you at the end of the year, that's because this is the astrology of the season. And I honestly feel like it has been easier for me to understand that. And like, for lack of a better phrase, like, don't take it personally. Like, it's attacking everybody right now. That's what it's asking you to do. But if you're fighting it, it definitely makes that energy harder. And I can see a lot of people not recognizing the pattern and fighting stuff. But the thing is, like, if you deal with it now, it's not easy, especially because it is an intense time. It's that last level for, whatever reason, it's that last level. This 9-year. And I am also like army crawling towards the finish line. I'm with you, but it doesn't feel as unbearable as in past times, at least in my experience. And I think it's really because I'm flowing with the energy. I'm recognizing what this energy is trying to help me with, and I'm looking at it as a boost, a help versus a hindrance. And I think who you follow in astrology will also shape that opinion, maybe, because I've seen some astrologers who very much talk about it as like, this is a really tough time of the year and you're going to struggle and it's going to be really hard. And then you have other astrologers who are like, yeah, the energy is difficult, but it's meant to help you. And if you work with it, this is how it's going to work with you. And Asha Rose is amazing with that, because she also every like season puts out what the seasonal energy is, like what Scorpio season is and what it's going to highlight for you and how you work with the energy. And I think that's just such a more positive way to look at the astrology than looking at it as like it's going to be hard or it's going to be easy. Even with Mercury retrograde, like, I'm filming an episode on Mercury retrograde is brave. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. It's brave. But I'm also not going to let myself stop doing things because of that. Am I going to have to edit the ever loving shit out of this episode? 100%. There's stuff that you're not going to hear that I rambled about for like an hour in the beginning that I'm like, that was complete garbage. Whatever you're dealing with now, the universe is basically giving you a chance to go back into your comfort zone. So I also think if you're not ready to work on stuff and evolve past stuff, don't buy into this fear mongering shit that people are talking about, where it's like, you're going to be left behind and you're going to be on the old timeline. I mean, I think the way people talk about that, it really gives those like 2000s Christian left behind books that I don't love. What they're really meaning is that a lot of people are feeling this energy right now, and a lot of people are choosing to work with it and work through it. Those people are going to be having a different experience in the coming year, because 2026 is the year of the horse in Chinese astrology, or I don't even know if it's astrology, but that the Chinese system, I got to look up more on this. It was the snake this year, which is shedding. Snake is shedding. It's getting rid of everything that doesn't suit you. And then next year is the horse, which is, that's speed, dude. That's go, go, go. And it's also a 1-year, universally. So, and if you're like me and you have a 1-year next year, like, I am fully aware that my business is at the beginning. I am at the beginning. I'm starting over a cycle. So it's building it up again. And the best way I can describe this is not the whole left behind new timeline thing. Like, if that resonates with you to talk about it like that, that's perfectly fine. I think it fear mongers and it's a bit bullshitty in some cases. What I think that the essence of that you need to understand that they're saying is, you're being given the opportunity right now to decide. Do you want to stay in your comfort zone? I don't know your life. I don't know who's listening to this. You might have so much stuff going on. You might have a lot of personal stuff. You might have a lot of work stuff. You might not be emotionally ready to let go of some things. Those experiences are valid. That's totally fine. It's not like you can't work on those things later. That's why I don't like this left behind bullshit, because it makes it sound like if you don't do it now, you can never do it again. You're left behind until, well, some people are saying forever, and that's the worst one, but like the next cycle. Don't buy into that. You can literally change whenever you decide that you want to change. But the universe is saying, hey, listen, these are all the things that were coming up this year that were not great for you. Like they were causing you issues, but you get the choice. Do you want to stay in your comfort zone? Stay in this area that you know that feels safe, even though it's probably not always the best for you and it's keeping you a bit stuck from evolving into a more aligned perspective, a more free perspective of your life. But again, it requires work. So do you want to do that, or do you want to stay in your comfort zone for a little bit longer? You can choose to stay in that. I will 100% back you on that. That is a valid decision if that is what truly, again, trusting yourself, connecting to yourself, knowing yourself. If that is truly what's right for you, have at it. Again, do ye no harm, do what you will. If that's what works for you, amazing. Amaze balls. Perfect. Just do it. Just be careful that you're not doing it out of fear, because a lot of times that self-protectiveness, that fear of the work we have to do, of the unknown, that disconnection from our true knowing of ourselves and trust in ourselves, that will keep you stuck in a very cyclical, patterned way. And again, if you choose to stay in your comfort zone, that is absolutely your choice. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that it's not that you stay in your comfort zone and all of these things are just not bothering you anymore. It's when I say comfort zone, it's staying in your patterns. So if you have problems in your patterns, if you're doing self-sabotaging behavior, for example, like this fear that I'm talking about that's keeping you stuck, it's not like things are really rosy in your comfort zone. It's not like we're moving into a year and everything, the energy supports anything. It doesn't. You're still going to have these struggles. You're just going to struggle in a comfortable way because you know these struggles. They're your struggle buddies. You know them. They're comfortable because you know them. It doesn't mean that they're going to go away. So you can choose to stay in your comfort zone if you truly are connected to yourself and know that that is the right thing for you. And even if you're not truly connected to yourself, you can choose to say that. Just be aware that you're still going to struggle with these patterns. They're still going to pop up all the time, especially as the energy's pushing on those certain things. Like in Libra season, you'll probably have a lot of those relationship pattern stuff come up if you don't work on it. Like it's still going to be there. But it's going to be comfortable. It's the devil, right? The new timeline people are talking about is if you work through these things, if you recognize the patterns that are not good for you, if you work on releasing them and acting in a different way. And like I said, it's a practice. You have to constantly be reminding yourself of this because it'll pop up periodically. It's like healing is a spiral, they say. You just spiral down deeper and deeper. So you still have these things come around, but the difference is that whereas when you stay in your comfort zone, you're not being aware of your pattern. So they're coming around all the time. You probably don't realize that it's a pattern. And so it could show up in so many different ways. And it's very fucking annoying. And it causes you issues all the time. When you work on healing them, they'll come up again. But it's like we talk about with desensitizing a trigger, like you start to recognize the pattern. And so you start not allowing the pattern to happen or going in a different direction, going around the issue. So it's not that it doesn't come up. It just doesn't affect you as much. And you make a choice to go in a different or go around it, go in a different area. That's this new timeline. So for example, I've been working a lot on releasing a lot of patterns that I have. And so, I gave you some of those examples from my personal life. When those things come up in the new year, it will be so incredibly easy for me to turn the other direction because I recognize that this is an old pattern. It's not the way that I think anymore. And I'm not even going to deal with it. And the more you do that, not only does it desensitize, but it starts to go away because the healing spiral is a spiral. You'll get to the middle at some point where you're done. You're done the spiraling. You're done the pattern. You're done the maze, right? You've reached the center of the maze and they will stop. So you'll be able to face these new opportunities with a more aligned, more fulfilled, more grounded headspace than if you stay in your comfort zone. So that's what this energy of this season is really asking us. So it is so incredibly important that you have this trust in yourself and you have this connection in yourself. And how do you get that? I will say it's the method of getting there, like all things in life, is going to vary per person. It's going to vary extremely from person to person of how you do it. But the kind of core of it is this understanding of who are you? Who am I at my core? What actually makes me happy? What is me and what is things that I've taken on that I think I have to take on. You have to understand who you are authentically first. I've started hating this word authentically because I think it gets thrown around so much. But there are like some core, as I used to call them, and I still probably will, honestly, authentic values. So what are the not like, Jess likes painting and Jess likes singing and Jess likes dancing. Like, yes, I like all of those things, but I like all those things because one of my core values is creative expression. I need creative expression. I need to express myself, and I do it through talking, singing, dancing, art, whatever expression, right? That's one of my core values. Another one is freedom. That's again why I know that I cannot return to corporate, because I cannot be tied to a place. I cannot be tied to a work schedule. Those things make me unhappy. I need to work when I want to, when I'm in flow, from where I want to. So I know that going back to certain types of jobs are not beneficial for my soul. So when you know these, I think I have like 4. There's expression, authenticity, freedom, comfort. Those I think are my main 4. And again, those things can slightly change, but those are my kind of North Star amalgamations. Those are my 4 make a North Star things. And I follow those. And so whenever I'm faced with something, I now am so connected to myself that I pretty much know immediately if it's right or not for me. And that's again this instinct and this intuition. But if I'm ever in doubt, I can always go back to my core values and say, does this violate one of my core values, or is it in line with them? And then use that as a kind of guide of, do I think this is going to be right for me? And sometimes for bigger decisions, I need to sit with them for a little bit and meditate on them, or feel into myself, or write them out, or, for me, I do a lot of verbal processing. So that's probably why I do the podcast. This is just one big verbal processing for me. But if you have those core values, they will not steer you wrong. And you can use them to help you connect deeper to yourself. And it starts to become more and more natural. Like, I don't even always, like you just heard, I don't really remember all of them by heart anymore. I just know that those things are in me and they're connected to me. And I can go back to them if I need to. The other thing is, again, listening to your intuition. So when you do get those intuitive nudges to do something, do you follow it, or do you rationalize and go, well, I don't have time for that, or I don't want to do that, or whatever. I forgot to start my timer for my sourdough. Okay, we're doing it again. Oh, hold on. Message incoming. They're saying all of the information I'm giving is really good and practical, but it's so serious. They're like, you're too serious. Everybody takes everything too seriously right now because everything's heavy. There is this message coming through from my guides of, oh my God, have fun. Stop taking everything so seriously. You have so much serious stuff going on in your life all the time. Why are we adding another serious thing onto this? They're telling me these messages of, when you follow your joy, when you find humor in life, when you allow yourself to be more free and do the things that make you happy, connect in ways that make you happy, and don't put so much rules, guidelines, judgment. Oh yeah, they're saying like our adult selves lead our lives entirely too much. We forget to have fun. We forget to just be in the moment. We forget that life is fun. And, I get this message a lot from them because they're always telling me I take things too seriously, but they really want me to tell you all that you're taking things too seriously. They're saying like, there has to be balance in everything. In everything, there's a duality. In everything, there's a balance. So they're saying in this particular point of connecting to yourself, like, yes, you have to understand who you are, but part of understanding who you are will come when you go have fun with yourself, when you don't take yourself so seriously, when you really just figure out, what makes me happy? Hold on, they're sending me another message. They're also saying, allow things to grow, like allow the connection to grow, because we're impatient. We've been conditioned to be so impatient and to want everything quick and want everything now. So a lot of people give up on the intuition and give up on the connection to themselves because sometimes it's hard work, it's dedication, and that it's a process and it takes a long time, and it's not just it's not just a straight process. It's an up and down process, and it's something that takes time. And so if you go into this idea of connecting with yourself, oh, that's a great one. Thank you. If you go in trying to connect to yourself and then it doesn't happen right away, or connect to your guides, it doesn't happen right away, then you're just like, well, I guess I can't do it. And they're trying to say, let it grow, let it develop, have fun with it and be free with it. Don't look at it as this super regimented like school or I mean, it can be like that if that's how you enjoy learning and connecting, then that should be it. But they're just saying like, don't think it has to be a certain way and it has to be now and you either have it or you don't have it. It's something that will grow and it will strengthen the more you listen, the more that you work with it. They really want me to get across the message that this is actually supposed to be a lot of fun. It's not meant to be a serious life or death thing. Like connecting with yourself, connecting with your Jesus guys, connecting with your guides is meant to be enjoyable. So if you're not enjoying it, find a different way to connect. If the information I'm giving you isn't doing it for you, just go have fun. It'll come to you. They'll connect with you. They're saying they connect most when people are just in flow and doing things they like because you're in a different part of your brain, or like a different state of mind is what they're saying. Like that's when you let down these walls and you allow things to come through. So finding that joy and finding that flow is where you're going to start to deepen and even begin to feel any sort of connection. And don't put any expectations on how it needs to look for you. Because like I said, it looks different for everybody. So it could be a word in your head. It could be a sudden idea out of the middle of nowhere where you're like, that's a great idea, but where the hell did that come from? Probably your guides or your higher self. So don't put expectations on how exactly it has to look. It could be an animal that suddenly you look at it and it just has a meaning for you. And that's you connecting and your soul remembering, right? They're saying a lot of it is we think it's something that we have to build up. They don't like my wording. It's not something that you have to build within yourself. It's something that you remember. And I've gotten that message a lot. So they're also just like, why are you not using that language of remembrance? It's remembering. It's just remembering. Your soul already knows. There are very few. I mean, I personally don't feel like there's any new souls on earth at this point. There's like newer souls, but there's no brand new souls really. So you already have been through this. You already know how to connect. You already know all this stuff most likely. You just have forgotten it. So you just have to remember how to do it. But a lot of that is having fun. Speaking of having fun, I want to do some cards because is there anything else? They're also saying you don't have to do it alone, that in this day and age, we really do a lot of stuff alone. We really do things solitarily. Um, but they're saying that it's more fun when you do it with other people. There's more community, you share experiences, you find out that something you thought was not spiritual actually could have been because it was for someone else. So you had an experience that you wrote off as just nothing and then someone else talks about it and you're like, "Oh my god, wait, I also had that. Is that a thing?" And then you start to make like connect the dots of your way of communicating with yourself and with your guides. Um, and yeah, community, they're just saying in general, like we have to come back to more community. The road needs to come back to more community, more connection with people for ourselves, but also for the collective. So that just seems to be like a general message. But how about we do a 3-card? Let's do a 3-card reading. Let's do a collective read for it's the energy now. What should we expect? Where are we going? So first card, what is the energy right now? Ooh, what should we expect? Guys, my rule with my guides is only 1 card at a time. So if anything else than 1 comes out, ooh, okay, then I don't take it. So, okay. And where are we going? Okay. Okay. Let me feel into these. Some interesting. I wish I had a more rosy reading, but I guess it just fits with the energy of the time because it's interesting. I'll deliver it in a maybe if I deliver it in like a rosy way, it'll be good. So 5 of Swords. We're going through a time of conflict, a lot of disagreements. That's the current energy we're in. There's a lot of people choosing to walk away, people choosing to not fight anymore. They just want peace. They're gonna let the victor take the spoils, whoever is the strongest, the loudest. But there's winds of change coming. So there's things going on right now. And so the current energy is that there's a lot of conflict, disagreements, this feeling of, I don't want to, I just want to walk away. I just want my peace. Upside down strength card. Spirit saying is what we need to expect in this coming period is we have to find our inner strength. That connects nicely with the, connecting to yourself and knowing what it is that makes you happy and what you want, because it will, and acting through that, because it will give you that sense of purpose and knowing that what you're doing is right for you and right for the collective thereby. But it is a time for inner strength. It's a time to go inside yourself, right? When cards are reversed, I always read them as internal things, whereas upright is external things. So they're saying, what to expect is a time of introspection, but not introspection in like a terms of um development, but like an introspective time of pulling up your strength, understanding how to use it in the proper way so that you're not facing burnout. Because the Four of Swords is indicating that where we're going, there is a very big possibility. Like the conflicts are not going to, the thing is with tarot, there's no time period. So I don't know if this is talking about for the next 3 months, the next 6 months. I mean, it's swords, which I generally think is movement, not as much as wands, but it's certainly not pentacles. So it's not like grounded. So I would say this is next maybe 6 months. I don't know. Like again, tarot doesn't really do time, but it's in the nearer future. Let's say it that way. But we're facing the possibility of burnout, of loneliness, of disconnection, and feeling like, yeah, very much alone. So they want you to find that inner strength within yourself. And also realize that, you're not alone, even though it could feel that way. But if you don't find that inner strength within yourself, you probably are going to face burnout. And I feel like there's a message here around, again, what we talked about with the cycles and the patterns and understanding you can choose whichever way you want to go. If you want to stay in the comfort zone or you want to move forward, either way, you're going to have to find the strength within yourself. So it's kind of, you might think it's an easier way out just to stay in the comfort zone and like, I don't have time to deal with this. I'll change it later. Again, your prerogative, your choice, but it's actually not the easier decision. It might be the easier short-term decision, but either way, you're going to have to find strength to deal with the old, or you're going to have to find strength to deal with the new. So which one is the better choice for you? And again, only you know that. But the risk we're heading towards is burnout and isolation and loneliness. And so we don't want that to happen. So whatever you need to do to feel good and strong in yourself, you should do that. Let's do a goddess card, an oracle card, because, I love tarot as like a divination. What's the current energy? And that's the thing too, like tarot is so great, but you need to understand that it's reading the current energy. So there's a lot that can change all the time. When you change something in yourself, like I could do a reading for you and tell you something, and then later that day, you can adopt that reading in your mindset, and you will get a completely different reading on the same question if you've changed your mindset. If you stay in your mindset, you probably get the same message. But tarot just reads the moment and reads the energy. And I like the oracle cards because they tend to give a little bit of a rosier outlook, a little bit more supportive. Ooh, okay. Okay. I'm not mad at these cards. It's all right. One of these seems to be very attached to the memory or the energy of the moment. So that's cool. So we got two because I did two. I did one at a time, but two. We have Benzai. I think it's a G. Benzai Beauty, but it came in upside down. And the other one, Kali, liberation. So let's think of it from from a collective standpoint. What energy I'm getting here is like from the larger collective, we've lost the ability to see the beauty within the struggle, within the world as well. There's a feeling I'm getting around the world is still beautiful. Life is still beautiful despite all the things that are going on, but we've just kind of lost the ability to see that because of internal stuff and external stuff. Like it's just been really hard for us to realize that we're living in the same beautiful world. There's just a period of conflict and turmoil that seems hyper energized right now, which it is. But we have to remember to go back to appreciating the beauty that is around us, the beauty of a neighbor helping another neighbor. Like it's not just beauty like the nature is beautiful. Like, yes, go out in nature, remind yourself how magical life is. But there's also beauty in all these little things. And we've lost the ability to see that. So a lot of times we feel like these little actions that we're doing for ourselves or for others are meaningless because of these big things going on in the world. And we've lost the ability to see how beautiful every little action we take for the betterment of ourselves and for the collective is so incredibly beautiful. So whether that's giving thanks to somebody for holding the door for you or being grateful internally, realizing being grateful for somebody doing something for you or for you doing something for yourself, for even $5 contribution to a cause that you believe in that's a beautiful step that you can take. There's this feeling of hopelessness again that we've gotten. But with the liberation card, it's very much pointing to the fact that, again, this is collective, so I'll do it in a individual, but there is freedom coming. There is some liberation coming. Kali is the great liberator. And with her showing up here in terms of collective energy, there is a change coming. Something is going, I don't know exactly what it is, but it feels like institutionally, like a foundational level change collectively. Some big collective liberation is coming. And again, I'm feeling like it's a mix of both. There's on the one hand, I don't want to blend the collective. Sorry. The larger collective sense is liberation, that we as people are going to disillusion. What's the word there? The wool is going to be pulled away from our eyes. That was what I was looking for. The veil is lifted. Like, there's going to be liberation in how we see things and what we know. We're no longer chained to these institutional ways of thinking. It feels like collectively there is a big change foundationally coming within the institutions, but it feels very much like this is why I'm trying not to blend the collective and the individual, but the messages are tied, that like there's an individual liberation coming within a lot of us where we're freeing ourselves from these institutionalized ways of thinking. We're starting to be more free in our way of thinking and realizing the flaws in these institutional ways of operating. And so that will, of course, influence in the coming period of time a collective liberation for people, because when so many individuals are working towards or awake towards the same goal, it causes a collective change. So there will be some sort of collective liberation. It feels both internal, but also like actual like physical change. So whether that's something with all the government, like a lot of government stuff is going on right now, could be technological, something with technology, but there's some sort of liberation. Just to touch on the individual information that I'm getting right now is also with the beauty card and the liberation. When you start to have that compass within yourself that comes from love and compassion and the beauty in your life, the gratitude, the beauty in your life, the understanding of how far you've come, where you've come from, and how that has shaped you, and you appreciate it for what it is, and then move into this liberation, into this freedom, it will allow you to see things in a different way and see things you hadn't been able to see before. So it's this individual way of, there's the collective and then there's this individual of like, really actually look at your life. Look at the things that have happened to you in the past. Have you had bad things happen to you in the past? Sure. Whatever degree of the scale you're on, everybody has had things happen in the past. But this liberation that we want to feel, this freedom, it comes with recognizing the beauty in the life that we've had and that we have now, and not focusing on all of the things that were bad, but focusing on where it's gotten you. Even if you've had a really tough life and you're having any issues trying to find the beauty in your life, look how you survived. Look how far you've come, right? And I'm not taking away from the struggle in saying this, but you have to come to a point, if you want to have liberation, if you want to feel free within yourself, of releasing those old stories, those old ways of being, those old patterns. When you do that, then you can get liberation. And part of that is finding the beauty in it and accepting that those things are the past and they're no longer, and that you get a choice. Again, that connection to yourself and knowing what you truly are and who you truly are and what actually makes you happy. Those things will lead you to liberation, to freedom, because you no longer will feel chained to a certain way of being or identifying in a certain way that doesn't actually serve you anymore. That had to have been the most winding road that anyone has ever taken on a podcast. And again, I'm going to edit the bejesus out of this. So hopefully by the time I'm done, it makes a modicum of sense for you. As usual, I freaking forgot to say this in the beginning of the episode, but if you enjoy my podcasts, even if you only listen once in a while, it is so easy to rate the podcast, to share it, to write a review. All of those things help so much with getting this out to a wider audience. I'm doing all my part with the SEO and the titles and everything, so I would just absolutely love if you enjoy listening to these, or you love me and you think I need help because I'm just a baby. just a baby business owner, or you feel bad for me because I'm so pathetic. If you love me, if you want to support me, please give me a 5 so I can continue making these episodes. You know what? I'll be completely honest. I'm going to make them whether you listen or not because these are my creative expression. But I love you. I will talk to you all later. I hope you have a wonderful freaking day. Mwah. Bye.